You know, when we think of espionage, we often think secret dead drops and hidden cameras, right? But these days, the real battles are often fought right out in the open, on our screens, with information itself as the weapon. A pretty incredible new report from the French media outlet Omerta breaks down what they claim is a perfect, and honestly, a kind of alarming example of this new battlefield. And it all boils down to one central question.
And that's really the core of what we're digging into here. We're going to follow the story of one man, a former intelligence agent, who allegedly found himself smack in the middle of a sophisticated disinformation plot aimed at the Kingdom of Morocco. It's a wild story about shifting loyalties, shadowy networks, and really, the weaponization of public opinion.
So let's start with the man at the very center of this web. His name is Claude Monaquet, and his career, well, it's anything but a straight line.
Okay, so Monaquet starts out where you might expect, as an agent for France's External Intelligence Service, the DGSE. Pretty standard. After he leaves, he builds this whole new public persona for himself, first as a consultant and journalist, and then he becomes this go-to security expert you'd see on the news. But the Omerta report alleges that in early 2025, he took on a brand new, very clandestine role, becoming what they call a reactivated asset for Algerian intelligence.
And this is where it gets really wild. The irony here is just incredible. Years ago, Monaquet himself was actually one of the first people to publicly expose alleged links between the Polisario Front, that's an Algerian-backed separatist movement, and terrorist groups. So he had this built-in credibility on the subject. The report now claims that this exact credibility was the very thing that was leveraged against the side he once seemed to support.
Of course, an operation like this is never a one-man show. The Omerta report points to a small but pretty powerful network that was allegedly pulling the strings from behind the scenes. So, who else was in on this?
The report names three key figures. First, you've got Claude Monaquet. He's the public face, the asset. Then you have the alleged mastermind, a man known as General Hassan from Algerian intelligence. And the crucial link connecting them? An intermediary named Mehdi Hadjawi, a former Moroccan officer who was reportedly mixed up in some fraud cases, which you can imagine might make him a very persuadable go-between. So let's zoom in on this alleged mastermind, General Hassan. His real name is Abdelkader Ait Warabi. Now the timing here is absolutely critical. The report says that just after he was appointed head of Algerian internal intelligence in April 2025, he sent a deputy to Brussels to get in touch with Monique. And for anyone who watches Algerian politics, Hassan's rise to power is a big deal. It's seen as a sign that the old, powerful networks of the legendary former intelligence chief, General Tufik, are back in the game.
All right, so we've met the players. Now let's get to the alleged mission itself. I mean, what was the ultimate goal here? Why recruit a former French spy just to tweet about Morocco?
According to the Omerta report, the whole operation had one main strategic goal: to drive a wedge between Morocco, France, and the United States, disrupting their close security and diplomatic partnership. It's a classic intelligence move, right? Weaken your rival by isolating them from their friends.
Now that word the report uses, reactivated, is really specific. Monaquet's alleged task was crystal clear. Use his platform, use his credibility as a former spy to systematically attack and discredit Moroccan security services. But it goes even deeper. The report claims his tweets weren't just his own hot takes. They were part of a carefully crafted narrative that was actually being developed by a special unit inside Algeria's Civil Security Center.
But this alleged plan wasn't just about foreign policy. It was, according to the report, a much more sophisticated strategy. It had two distinct prongs, one pointed outward and one pointed inward.
Okay, so here's the two-pronged approach. Prong one, the external part. Use Monaquet as this credible Western voice to pump out anti-Moroccan propaganda. But prong two was just as important, and this was the internal goal. Use all this manufactured tension to paint Morocco as the constant external enemy. It's a textbook move for rallying a population and creating unity at home. So let's pull back for a second. What does all this really mean? Why does one alleged operation involving one former spy and a bunch of tweets actually matter in the grand scheme of things? It matters because this story, if the details in the Omerta report hold up, is basically a perfect case study of what modern conflict looks like. These days, geopolitical fights are fought less with tanks and more with narratives. The soldiers aren't always in uniform. Sometimes they're influencers and so-called experts. It's all about shaping perception to win your strategic goals without ever firing a shot.
And that really leads us to the final and maybe the most important question. In a world that is just flooded with information, where ex-spies can allegedly be hired to shape public opinion, and social media is the new front line, who actually gets to write the final story? It's definitely something to think about the next time you're scrolling